this felt like an amazing set. There is such a good back and forth dynamic between me and Dastardly. Dastardly is the coil this whole match. I'm also the twin tail, obviously, kind of have to be. So starting off with game 1 here, and forgive me, I have to remember the replay controls. I barely ever touch these. So I ended up taking the set in the round robin. How we do tournaments with less than 8 people. And we always do a round robin, and we have playoffs between the 2 players who place the best in the round robin. So that happened to be me and Dastardly. I took the first set as a shutout, I believe, that night. I got 2-0, and I won every round. I might have got 1. But Dastardly came back super prepared for this set as well. I felt like I was pretty prepared. I messed around with Chalk was an easy coil technique. And also I remembered that I can parry coils nades when they're charged because they're not good spot. And Chantal can get out of charge nade parries if they're not good spot. If they're a good spot, she just kind of has to take it. However, Dastardly was super aware of where my Triblast was at what time, and that made him really hard to get around. He also had amazing placement of a lot of his arms. So this first set definitely didn't go. The first game, definitely I felt like Dastardly became more prepared for it than I was. That is one thing for sure. He's really ready to box. Like, you can kind of box with Chakram, but it's like not a great defensive tool because it's slower than if they're just double boxing out. So game 2, I really kind of had to think and work around kind of the deficiencies I saw there in the set 1, which I didn't do too well on. Straight right off the bat, kind of got hit by some easy stuff. Didn't fall into the bait that time though. I kept aware of that, and unfortunately only a Triblast to defend myself. But he mistimed his grab. Don't think he actually expected to get the shield parry, so I ended up running away with a free rush punish there. The first game was really just kind of like me figuring back out how to play to him adapting to me from the first set we had played earlier in the tournament. So this game was a little bit wacky, and I usually don't worry too hard about whether I lose the games on Sparring Ring, because Sparring Ring feels very neutral to me. Not necessarily that it's like a 50-50 with coil. I actually think it's more advantageous for coil half the time, but I think with the right arms loadout, you can pressure her on it, and if you know what you're doing, it's not super bad. Like, Twintel definitely doesn't have as good a stage list as coil does. Like, if you let coil take you to like Via or Moz, you're just going to absolutely have like a terrible time, which is not going to work well. So going to like sparring, yeah, it's fine. So I ended up winning that round pretty well. I don't actually remember what won here. Probably just lost leadership. Dastardly spent the entire set doing this setup where he'll damage my shield with 3 arms. And if there's 2 nades and a parabola, it ends up breaking. But if it's 2 parabolas and a nade, it didn't end up breaking. So a lot of times he was kind of taking the gamble that the shield pressure is just going to have it happen. And maybe it has some shield damage before. But otherwise, he puts on really good chip damage. And you can already see his rush meter is almost fully charged again. Like, Coil gets it back absurdly fast because of the 3rd arm, and because this set kind of has to make Twintel hold rush a little bit. Like, it's kind of an auto-respect. And right there, he had amazing recognition that Chakram wasn't going to make it back, so he gets punished for free. If that was Tri-Blast, I would have gotten away with it, but because I was just throwing out Chakram at that range, Parabola was just going to track me down and murder me. It knew my home address, it found out where I live, and it beat me to death. Like, that is just how good that arm is. I'm pretty sure I dropped the rush trick, so I was looking for bait, and not getting it. Yeah, I was doing that all throughout the set. I was so mad at myself. I kept trying to get nade as it was coming out, and I kept getting nade in front of me, and that always led to me dropping around usually. So that first set, that first game wasn't like rough, but it definitely like coming out of that, I was sitting in the back of the venue we were in, Urban Chestnut. I was like, all right, I just need to sit down, I need to focus, and I need to not do that garbage with the nade. And then Dastardly banned Scrap. He always bans Scrap because hates coil on Scrap. Oh, thank you, Henry Gamer. I appreciate it. But yeah, he always hates going to Scrap with coil. So he banned Scrap, and I'm pretty sure he also banned Temple. And so I take him to DNA Lab because I've got pillars to play with. He prefers nade and parabola, stuff that doesn't really curve. So I kind of get to abuse the fact that I like curving arms a little bit more on DNA Lab. So I usually play every counter pick game here unless he has a ban, in which case I take him somewhere else. I'd like to take him to Scrapyard, but they'll never let me do that ever in his entire life. So coming out here, I was feeling a lot better about being able to use Chakram a little bit more creatively here. I've always really liked Tri-Blast on the stage too because of its interactions with the individual bolts and pillars. So I was kind of like feeling myself a little bit here in this first round, getting a lot closer into his face, trying to preserve the pillars for later rounds when I needed to play defensively, and also maybe trying to keep him in the corner early on. I just felt like I had a lot of good prediction, a lot of good reads here, and a lot of good coverage of options. Like for there, I threw out Chakram, and I moved behind a pillar, but I didn't shield because I actually thought I would get away with it. I spent the entire time going behind that pillar to avoid it, and then just let it happen. Dastardly had some really solid plays regardless, though. And like that, there was like, a time like that I was still getting used to the fact that I was like, okay, I need to just not rush down constantly. Like, the first round, I was feeling myself a little bit. Now the pillars are gone, and he's actually playing, like, how he would on sparring again. So I didn't get to get away with as much for free. He also didn't either, because the stairs interact with Coil's height in such a weird way. Like, that's why he hates Scrapyard so much, because when you're beneath Coil on, like, a really, really high incline, Coil has a really, really hard time hitting you with a lot of her arms, because she has to poke directly downward rather than go at an angle towards you. And so DNA Lab, you can kind of emulate that, like, not as well, but if she's on top of the stairs, or floating above them, I should say, and you're down in the pit, you can actually get away with some nonsense for free. So I usually, against Coil, and it's actually a bad habit that's going into other rounds, I like to start with just a Tri-Blast. Get a Tri-Blast out there, force her to move, and do something. And see there, I got the nade before it could get to me, I blocked it with Chakram. I definitely do screw it up again later in the round because the timing was off, but pretty consistently I was getting it throughout the set later on. And here I spent a lot of time just trying to force him to react with something that wasn't good, or pop his rush like that. It won't break shield on its own, so I'm not super concerned about it so long as I haven't taken a lot of shield damage. I know that if I have taken shield damage, I would have just gone behind the pillar because he was going to throw it anyway. But he took a ton of damage up front, and I got hit by the nade again. Definitely, like, I'm trying to work. I think one of my biggest flaws is that I try to work out of disadvantage with a really hard, like, punish. I'm like, alright, cool. You overextended a little bit, here's what I'm going to do. But then he actually didn't, and I mistimed it, you know? If I had thought about it better, he might have actually overextended. He could have gotten a decent punish, but sort of let the timing slip and ended up eating it. Hey, Twin50, what's up? But yeah, I've actually been, I spent a lot of time thinking about pressure, being pressured by Coil, especially in, like, the corner on DNA Lab. That's where I've dropped a lot of sets to Dastardly before. Like, I ended up losing on this stage, I think, twice, maybe? In my set with him where I lost my beard, I was like, this should be an advantage stage, you know? I should be able to perform optimally on this stage against Coil, because this is theoretically good for Twintel in this matchup, or at least even. And I should be able to push advantage harder with the arms that I have. So I spent a lot of time kind of like going back and looking into like, all right, why am I losing? And it was really that anytime the pillars were gone, I just wasn't playing as well as it should. So game 3, I banned Maz and Via, and he took me back to sparring, which I think is a good choice. He plays really, really well on sparring. I do spend a lot of time playing on sparring, so I do feel comfortable here. So if this is theoretically bad in the matchup, it doesn't feel like it to me, so I usually let him take it. But I hate Maz and Via more against Coil, so I don't bother with it. It's always good. So one thing I was looking for in the middle of the set was throwing Chakram before he could get his pattern of nade up, so that it would always climb with it. But Chakram's like super laggy, so if he just decides to not do that, then kind of eat it. And Skew actually, I'm sorry, not Skew, Twin50, Skew's rating was right before with the Bluetooth remote. Is that a Bluetooth? What is that? I can't see it. Kind of looks like it. But what I used to actually do gloves against Nate, gloves against Dastardly all the time. My issue is he can box better. So if I put on double gloves, he instantly puts on triple gloves. And I always lose to that because I don't think Twintel can push her way out of that as well, and he can track movement a lot better with her movement. So I actually liked Chakram because it was cutting off a lot of movement options. A lot of times when I rushed, it would actually intercept. Oh, Tri-Blast glove? I do like that. I do like that. But the issue is I've been actually looking for a set against Coil and other players, but specifically Coil, where I could have any combination of all 3 arms and it would be good. And the fact that I couldn't do double Tri-Blast or like Tri-Blast Chakram or something, I just wasn't about it. I wanted to focus more on different arms, especially stuff that Dastardly probably doesn't see as often in the meta against Coil. I am looking for, like, it's more like a, alright, I'm labbing Majin Buu and DBFZ now. Like, it's not a bad pick, it's certainly not the meta pick, though. So if you get good at it, you can actually stomp quite a number of people before anyone realizes what to do about it, you know? So, I was getting pretty close in these sparring ring rounds, which was actually, pretty gratifying. I got away with that one because I parried super early on the nade, super early. And there I just read him punching. Then you need Glusher, yeah. Okay, I've been thinking about it. I was gonna try out Glusher tonight. It seems really funny. I don't know if it'll work on Twin Tail because not as big as it could be and her movement's a little slow, but it seems like it's a mad funny option to do in neutral, especially if I put it on Twin Tail. Like I might just get free tilts out of it. But yeah, no, there are a lot of good like round 2s where even in the games I lost, I had really solid round 2s where I was just playing really well. Dastardly usually reacted on wake up every single time, so that was good conditioning to get free rush punishes where I could just always hit him with something because he's trying to stuff me out before I smack him with a Tri-Blast or like do Tri-Blast on his shield like 3 times, you know? It does sound decent in theory. I have thought that about many Twin Tail arms though, and there he just read that I was, you know, doing the same thing that I was doing, conditioning myself to throw out punches so that I could condition him to get hit by rush, but he just ate that for a gigantic amount of damage, and already my health bar is halfway gone in round 3. So, I definitely was throwing Chakram too much. There are a lot of points where I shouldn't have been throwing Chakram. I was kind of relying on it to catch movement and get out of situations. And it just led to stuff where, like, I would get scared and then I wouldn't throw it, and then I just get grabbed for free, you know? I might be able to use it to zone him into trying the corner. I feel like that, definitely, for sure. My issue is, I just feel like Coil's sideways movement, like, obviously I have to test it, and you're probably more of a Glusher expert than me, but I wanted stuff that would cut him off horizontally and vertically. I had to say horizontally first to think of the word vertically. And so Chakram is gigantic. Like, it has a pretty large vertical hitbox, and that horizontal movement is really good. So if he's trying to zone me out from a distance, I actually kind of get away with Chakram sometimes. And I'll show you where that happens. I think it's in the next game, or it might be in the last one. This is game 4. Dastardly had the same bands. I took him back to DNA because I thought, why not? I won there. Oh yeah, follow my face. It thinks my hands are face. Anyway, I was this entire set, and I started thinking about it, especially like by game 3. I'm like, all right, cool. If I get into like a last round, last game situation, I kind of need to switch to Parasol. Because I had Parasol in my back pocket this whole time, and one thing I've learned about Dastardly is he can usually adapt to having a single set the entire game. No set is perfect against Dastardly. He will figure out counterplay to it. Because Coil's just that good, and he's just that good at his Coil sets. So I was saving Parasol as a last round switch to hopefully get him to just run into some stuff because of pattern gameplay. It's really hard to break a habit, especially when you were winning against your opponent with using that habit, you know? So I was really hoping that would work, and we'll see how that plays out in game 5 rounds. It's still game 4. We'd drawn a little bit of a crowd at that point, so I could kind of hear him, so I turned out my music and was trying to focus more. But the gravity of the situation was definitely hitting me. I was like, alright, cool. This is close to the end, and I need to win this game and the next one on his counter pick to win this. So I've got a mountain to climb. So right here, like I said, game 1, I like to use the pillars if, well, so in game 2, I was doing like super heavy rush down trying to save the pillars, and then I realized I was starting to take hits on that, and he was learning what my set was, so I was using the pillars more defensively in the first round, so a lot of them broke. So I actually don't think this was smart stage control on my part. I think I could have done a lot better in how I managed the stage and all of the pillars on it. And I was just getting super nervous about him having rush, so I thought I was actually in the lead at the health bar. It turns out I was like 10 health behind, so I was down on that one for free, and I really should have watched that a bit better. That was an easy mistake I could have avoided. There's another example of Chakram just getting a free self-made punish on Coil because he likes to throw it, but I think that round went okay. I definitely learned for the next one. I'm like, all right, I need to focus and just, like, not be as risky. Throw the hits that I need to and use Chakram more defensively. Right here is where I definitely switch to a more sort of, like, overall defensive play for the majority of the set. Here I was like, alright, I need to work on conserving my energy, staying back, trying to build rush, and also trying not to get hit by his rush over and over again. And switching into that was kind of difficult for me because Dastardly likes to exploit weaknesses a ton. He's really, really good at it. So I immediately went from playing a different game to adjusting to playing a new one, and it immediately kind of put me at a disadvantage. And he was definitely exploiting that. Like, he's just getting lots of single hits, like just nade slapping me from afar for no reason, when it really shouldn't have been. And there I popped rush because every single time I had popped rush before and he wasn't like throwing out an arm to beat me, I usually got him because Chakram intercepted him. That's one of the best parts about Chakram in this matchup is it will almost always catch Coil's movement. But I learned right there in the middle, it does not catch it at that range. It has to be at least like mid-range at like maximum to close range. It'll pretty much always catch on like a dash out at close range. And then mid-range it's kind of a toss-up. That was like slightly out of mid-range, so it just didn't work. And then again, same thing. That was just reactable. I was just getting nervous. I was like, I want to pop this. 12 seconds left. Don't put me in a corner. And so one thing I became like really cognizant of, I think in game 3 and on as well, was the fact that I was constantly using Charged Tri-Blast. Charged Tri-Blast is super good against Coil, but only when it lands. And that's the issue, is Dastardly is super good about not letting Tri-Blast land. Charged Tri-Blast, I should say. I spent like an entire season of just playing double Tri-Blast to force everybody to learn this stupid arms matchup. So he got really, really good at avoiding never getting hit with Charged Tri-Blast. So I have to really like get creative when I'm able to hit him with uncharged Tri-Blast. And there I got super lucky. Because one of the things with Twin Tail on this stage, let me actually back it up. Oops, hello, I cannot take a call right now. Sorry. So one of the things with Twin Tail on the stage is when she gets up on these steps right here. Oops. I don't want to keep watching. When she gets up on these steps right here, so she has a chance of sliding off. And when she does, she auto-enters Actress Aura. So it's kind of a toss-up what you want to do. So I figured that if I rotated towards this edge here, and he went to try to attack me, I would be able to get a free rush punish because he'd say, oh, he's okay, so Twin Tail is sliding off. She's going to end up Actress Auraing in the air, and I'm just going to be able to put Nate out, and she'll run into it on Wake Up. So, take a call right now. So, I was just taking a gamble there that he's going to punch, and he's going to want to punch, because I'm already in the corner, and I'm running into a potential disadvantage state based on the stage. So it was a super hard trade-off that ended up paying off really well in my opinion. So from here, all the pillars are gone. I've been shoved in the corner a few times. So I'm just working to not get hit and build back rush. I'm taking a call right now. People keep calling me. Anyway. So here I'm just trying to give him enough damage and pressure, also space him out before he gets rushed so that I can also get rushed too. Because I like being in a situation where I have rush when Dastardly does, so I can pop it if I need to, maybe punch through it, give him the mix-up. There, I definitely mistakenly popped it, but so did he. I got really, really lucky that he tried to punish from that distance too, so I was able to back up and not get hit by Parabola. That's the most important part of avoiding Dastardly's rush. You don't get hit by the Parabola. You can get hit by the nade and still kind of fall out of it a lot, or shield, based on your distance. But if you get hit by Parabola, that's going to lock you in for the rest of the rush. That is consistently the worst position to be in. So there, I got super lucky. I knew he had rush, and I knew he wanted to pop it because it's the end of the round. Really intense set so far. I was kind of nervous. And I was like, if I just pop Tri-Blast right here, he might just get smacked by it. And there is what I'm talking about with Chakram. Chakram catches all of her movement at a close range. It's amazing. Like, it's so satisfying to be able to pop that rush and just get it half the time. It's awesome. I love it. That's the whole reason I selected it. Oh, I dropped things. No. Ah! Sorry, I got stuff going on. Alright. So, I felt pretty good after that win. People behind me were popping off. I felt the crowd energy. So, game 5, I had the same bands, and this time he took me to Buster. I don't really know why. I didn't ask him. So, moving into game 5, we went to Buster. I don't know why Dastardly chose Buster of all things. I don't get to play on this one against him a lot, so I'm not entirely sure where it sits with like Twin Tail versus Coil. But I think it is like even. I don't know. One thing, and it'll happen later in the match, I'll point out, her grabs throw you right into the corner a lot, so that's not necessarily good because you get locked down really hard. Buster's a great match. To win 5L, yes, these are locals. These are this is a whole set from yesterday's local. We didn't have room for a stream, nor did I want to bring one because that venue is a little bit cramped, but it's a great venue. We just sort of threw up there instead of our usual one, and it ended up being a really solid tournament. So game 5, I'm kind of exploring Buster against him because I only really play against him in friendlies, and usually there we're experimenting with new loadouts, so I hadn't played this one against him, but I was feeling kind of confident in it still. I usually always try to play on maps with a slope underneath him because I think it gives me a better advantage, like I said earlier, where he has to aim his punches a little bit better rather than just sort of curve them. He has to point them down too. See that angle in the camera. We both get rush charge super quick. We're doing the same thing. We've played out this loadout the entire tournament at this point. Actually, yeah, I was about to say set, but in our first set in the round robin phase, we also did this. Yeah, Thursday locals are usually when they happen, and I think what I did really well in this game here was that my rushes landed when I think they needed to. I did really good work when I was in the corner to get out, and I also played really well on the slope. So, like right there, roll out, hold Acrosora, respond to what he has. Don't necessarily like just throw a bunch of punches. Don't get like nervous. He didn't get in super close, so I recognized that I didn't have to choose an option really quickly. However, I'll still say one thing that happens when I'm in the slopes, I do get grabbed more because those grabs are harder to avoid at that end, for sure. Winning this game. I haven't watched it. Oh, it was probably a time I didn't win. But one thing that I was really cognizant of at the end, like I said in the last game, was just where my uncharged Tri-Blast was and where he was going to be. Because uncharged Tri-Blast is like a really good tool against Coil, and really good use of uncharged Tri-Blast in your other arm is what nets you the charged Tri-Blast. Like that's the reward for hitting Coil a bunch with that, is getting to hit her with the charged Tri-Blast. But the uncharged Tri-Blast is the thing that's doing the hard work. Also, yes, Askew, let me know about that. But in this game, he switched up to gloves, and I was actually worried. I was like, oh, Chakram's really slow. He's going to have 3 mediums to throw at me at like any given time. This shit's going to hurt real bad. So I was getting, despite that, I was still getting like good punish. And I recognized that if I was going to win this round, what I needed to do was just throw hits before he could get charged. Force him to either throw 2 hits that I could dodge, or force him to just be in shield. But that's really dangerous to play against double gloves, because right there, I'm just going to get smacked with rush like a lot, because it's real fast. Both arms work really well. I think that was like the one grab I got on him all game, except like a wake-up grab, because he's really slippery and hard to grab. So I have to play neutral like exceedingly well. And I think I actually had, I think I gained the health lead here. Oh no, I didn't get any health lead, but I wasted my rush right there. And I definitely could have gotten it off something better. I could have avoided that, maybe popped Tri-Blast instead, not ended up just throwing it away. And I think I could have taken the set here. I didn't have to go into game 3. I think that was definitely the biggest part. So here I was just trying to get in because I knew I was at a health disadvantage and I needed the round win. And I went for grab. That definitely probably wasn't the best, but it did force him to pop rush. And so we go into game 3 here, where I selected, as you can see on the screen, I selected Parabola. Not Parabola, Parasol, because use Parabola always throws me off. That's the one thing. Those 2 words are too similar for me. I keep saying them backwards, but I had been practicing the set because I also saw it was one catfight used a lot. Parasol, Chakram, and I was like, all right, at the very least, I can use Parasol to play super defensively and still get hits off on Chakram while he's throwing all of his arms at once. Because that was the one thing I did notice that he was doing, was he was double punching to try to force me to move backwards, get out of space, have to jump over it. But I was actually kind of nervous, so I didn't break grabs because I got really, really jittery. I was breaking them with the grabs because I was just like smacking both controllers, both the bumpers. And right there, I could have gotten a rush confirm. I was kind of thinking about it, and then I was like, maybe he'll throw a punch on waking up. Like at this point, I was super jittery, and I think Dastardly was as well. We were both kind of feeling it. I got away with that right there because Chakram traded, went back, and then Parasol was the one that traded with the other arm, and that was how I got away with it. Was that I threw Chakram first and had Parasol on the back. I kind of just got lucky with that one. If he had thrown Rush a little earlier, he definitely would have gotten the free punish there. That was a solid play. I really, really liked that I had sort of reinforced myself, steeled myself, if you will, to only use Chakram when it got broken there with the right timing to like get a startup. Because having Chakram being your only one arm is super difficult. Because it's not great defensively. There I just got away with it because my arms were right in front of me and he was curving at an awkward angle. I broke the camera for him. This whole time, Dastardly's still using movement really well. I just think he wasn't ready for the set, and because I was actually more nervous, I wasn't paying attention to the clock. I didn't realize at this point it was 15 seconds left, so when I popped that, I actually felt really bad about it. I'm like, no, there's so much time left. And then I looked at the clock because I saw it getting red, and I was like, oh, it's already this time. So I just played defensively right here, and at this point, Dastardly stuck his hand out, and I took the set entirely off a timeout in the super last round. This was easily one of the best sets I played because there's so much nuances happening in neutral, so much development over the set, and how Dastardly learned to play against how I had played against him in the set earlier in the tournament. Then we moved into how he was playing, I adapted to him, and how he was adapting to me in the first set with only just one loadout. We played one loadout until entirely this game. Yeah, I timed him out with Twin Tail. That was basically what happened. Yeah, nothing else went into that whole set except me timing him out. Yeah. And there was so much great adaptation from Dastardly early on, especially on sparring and how you can recognize when I was throwing Tri-Blast, when I was throwing Chakram, what I was trying to do when I threw both those arms, like how I was conditioning him. Solid adaptation from me in some of the later rounds when we were both getting nervous. And then that game 5 was super just close. Real hard to play out. Really solid game overall. Yeah, I mean that's like optimal twin tail play. So that like timeouts just kind of work. No, it was small enough that it was a 6-person round robin that we ran in the back of a Smash tournament. We had a nice little dungeon. It looked just like the 2GG Hyrule Saga. We were like, perfect, training again. But yeah, I felt like the reason I had won this set was because I was able to adapt at a really, really good set going in, where I could play any of the 3 arms against him confidently. And I had a backup ready, which like he was doing to me. He was like, all right, Danny's played this arm set the whole time, and I need to win this, so I'm gonna switch to my loadout, the new one, double gloves. And this set was just really good at playing defensively against that. So I think there was a lot of good back and forth there, going on the entire time.